I'm Diego Cordovez. Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Adam Schoenfeld is still traveling, and most of our poker pros are in LA for the Legends of Poker. But we've got some shows we saved up from the World Series of Poker, and one of poker's more colorful players, Alan Boston, met with Adam and I, and got a good interview with him. So I saw you on Poker After Dark recently, and I don't think they were ready for you. I don't think they'd been prepared for the Alan Boston experience. Is that accurate, or is that just my impression from watching?
Well, the producer should have known me, since Maurice played poker with me for about 20 years, and he knows I never shut up and kind of say what's on my mind. But it was disappointing because a lot of my chit chat was kind of muffled over by the unending cliches that came from Mattisau's mouth and Jamie Gould's mouth and Esfandari's mouth. None of whom had anything intelligent to say. Yeah, but who the fuck wants to hear them talk about nonsense? Well, I know what his hand is. Yeah, well, no shit. He turns over a king, and it's a board of jack, rag, rag, and he just shoved. And Esfandari's, well, I know what he's got. Yeah, you're really smart, Tony. Jamie Gould's, I know what he's got. Yeah, it's real smart.
What was the experience like for you anyway? I mean, you haven't played a lot of the TV tournaments. I mean, you play a lot. You're a respected player, but this is kind of different to see you up there.
Well, I'm glad I'm a respected player.
Yeah, especially in this kind of contrived environment, because they bring the 6 players together. They want you to be chatting and
they want everyone to talk. So.
Well, that's perfect for me because I never shut up, right? I mean, it really is kind of a perfect venue for me. And the fact that they gave you a little bit of play was good too. Yeah, I had fun. I will say one thing: I'm not a fan of. I'm not going to get into I can't stand at the table. I'm not a fan of one of the particular people at that table, and I was really like steaming as I told Maury I don't want to play with this particular individual. And but I ran into someone.
Oh, you got to tell us who that is now. You can't.
No, I ran into someone before the show, and I said, "You got anything on you?" And she said, "What do you need?" "Whatever you got." So I had some Adderall and Percocet before the show to start, and I think you could see like
don't those cancel out? One's a stimulant, one's a
actually
depressant.
They got me to an amazing place. I had no idea. I was just winging it, I was winging my drug use, but I had to calm down somehow because I was out of my mind. I was waiting like 4 hours for the thing to start, and then I don't know. Like, it's kind of not my thing either, playing, poker tournaments and being on TV, and it just...
So you realized this before you went?
I know, but I didn't think my inner self would start being so turmoiled, so... But I got it calmed down pretty quick, and you can see, like, I think it's like Tuesday, when all of a sudden the drugs, like, kick in, and all of a sudden I'm, like, a little more relaxed, and it wasn't because I got relaxed playing the show, it's because the drugs just kicked in, and then I just never shut up the rest of the time.
I mean, I knew you primarily as a 7-card stud player, and of course a legendary sports bettor. Now you're playing these no-limit tournaments.
It was just that one.
Name. Well, what?
See, that's not... Alan, I've known you 4 or 5 years, and in that the first time I met you, were saying, "No limit's not my game," and you've been playing it the entire time.
But you still say that no limit's a dumb game.
I didn't say it's a dumb game.
What's the exact analysis?
The way modern poker is played, no limit can be not the best of games, where it's just shove-a-thon. Shove.
Is poor.
Right. So I mean, to me, that's not poker. To me, poker everything's a logic problem. Each hand is an individual logic problem, and if you can arrive at the proper conclusion through proper logic, you can get the most for your money. So in no limit, in stud, you have to know the hole cards. I played stud because that's all they had out here. I had a choice of stud or hold'em. I chose stud, and eventually I got really good at it. And, matter of fact, at Poker After Dark, they asked me. They pulled me away from the table. And Shauna Hyatt asked me a question, and she's fucking hot, by the way. I mean, she's like...
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. But TV doesn't do it justice. She's like crazy hot.
In real life, she's unbelievable.
Yeah, just like, wow. Anyway, so she asked me this question: how does a 7-card stud / sports bettor become a no-limit hold'em player? Right. Now, they cut this interview out, all right? They cut this completely out.
They didn't show
nothing. And here was my answer, because someone has to hear this answer, because this is like brilliant, man. I mean, I come up with this fucking brilliant answer, just winging it off the top of my head, because I have no idea what they're going to ask. I said, well, first of all, it's a good question, and let me think for a second here. And here's what I came up with. I said, I like to think of myself as either an anachronistic iconoclast or an iconoclastic anachronism, whichever you prefer. I'm giving you the short version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But No Limit Hold'em became so relevant that even I had to give in and go with it.
Yeah.
And that's the short answer of what I came up with. I think that's like just this awesome answer.
That's
Now
not
they
gonna-
didn't know what I was
That's not
talking
gonna play
about.
in Peoria.
What?
That's not going to play in Peoria. This is
Doesn't matter. Go look it up in the dictionary. Have the guy look it up and explain to him that I meant
They could put a
that I'm-
graphic underneath
Yeah,
the
that-
screen.
Right, an iconoclast just tell so it's one who challenges social norms.
I
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I know you know, but I want to explain to
We'll discuss
the audience here an anachronism to someone's misplaced time. I'm kind of an old school romantic, and
You're definitely those things.
right. So even though I'm someone who does not go with the flow, No Limit Hold'em became so relevant that I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to conform and I'll go with it." So here I am. I mean, how can you come up with a better answer than that? All right, we'll just cut that out. That reeks of intelligence. We can't have any intelligence on TV. We need the Matisows of the world with unending stupidity coming out of their mouth, and that's what we need.
What I mean, now you're playing. You play live No Limit too, or
Yes.
or just the tournaments?
I
And-
play some live No Limit because I have no choice unless I want to go to LA, and I'm getting very good at it. And I've always had good gambling instinct, and and I have my own approach to it, which is kind of different than most. And
I mean, knowing you just personally, you're very extroverted. You like the intellectual exchange. When you're playing, are you using this talk to feel people out? Are you trying to get into anyone's head, trying to figure out what their own motivations are? Are you is the same persona when you're at the table playing live, or
yeah, but I'm not trying to figure anything out with it. I'm just being me. That's the only
Right,
way
yeah,
I know
there's
is to just talk and talk and talk. And that's we like you said it. I mean, poker used to be a social experience. Someone said that at the table just now, and then he hates iPods. He said it's supposed to be a social experience, and he's right. And back when I played in the '80s, early '80s out here, mid '80s, there were a lot of characters in poker, and you kind of knew everybody, and everyone was kind of
well, they were genuine characters. I mean, one thing we've railed upon is the fact that when the cameras come around, a lot of people now adopt a certain persona that's not even their real character.
Right.
I mean, I respect the guys, and you say what you will about Mike, but you and Mike have one thing in common, which is you've always been the same way. This
And
is
they're the
not-
same way off the
you've
camera,
not
24 hours.
Right, I'll
adopted
give Mike
persona.
that.
Mike is
Yeah.
genuine. So
I
other
like
guys
Mike.
are not. Other guys, as soon as the lights are on, they're trying to play some role that maybe they think is going to get them more exposure,
Right, you're not
or
acting, that's who
sponsorship,
you are.
or,
Right.
right. Oh, I can't stand that. Obviously, I mean that
mean,
keeps me away from tournaments. I only play a couple tournaments. I'm only going to play this. I'm going to play the 10K stud and
So
the 3,000 horse and the main event. That's it. I'm
you
done.
like the
So
social aspect, which is probably lost now. But what about the internet? You play on there?
not at all.
I've seen you. I've seen you play on Full Tilt. You've been chatting, and in fact, to the extent that someone's personality can come through in the chat, yours does, because people were asking you about certain players, and this is kind of funny because most of the chat, the Red Pro chat, is fairly mundane.
Yeah. From the mundane
just by
to the inane.
Not mine.
But these guys were asking, and I forget the exact names, but there was what do you think of Diego Cordovez? He sucks. How did Adam Schoenfeld? He's a loser. I mean, you were just giving people your cold assessments right online, which I thought
What
was
else is
great.
supposed to do? I mean,
Yeah.
see, when Howard asked me to be his 7 stud pro, which is what he asked me to be, I said, okay. Now they say learn, chat, and play with the pros. So
Yeah.
when I go on there,
Yeah, we chat. Too.
I'm trying to teach. I'm trying to
Right.
talk to players.
I think
I'm trying
that
to,
approach-
I play 2-4 stud. I tell them what my hole cards are. I can't do any more. Here's what I got.
See,
If you want to know why I'm playing a hand the way I'm playing it, just ask. I'll gladly answer it.
See, this is where I got your opinion on the Hold'em, because in this, we were at the table, and in this chat, someone was asking about No Limit, and you wrote to them, play 7-card stud, that's the real game. That's a game where you got to use your mind. And so, you were going on that theme. Now, part of it may be, as we discussed, the structure of a tournament, especially online. It's not one where there's a lot of play always, or where there's a lot of subtlety, but you were going down that road and talking about 7-card stud, and, kind
Well,
of why that game has more nuance to it.
I think 7 stud has every concept available in poker within the game. I mean, even at the highest levels, it can be an amazing game. How to win extra bets off people who know what you have or may know what you have, and trying to hide what you have from someone who knows what you have can be really an interesting.
Give us an example of that, because I think it's over my head right now, and it's probably the weakest of my horse games.
It's 100% the weakest of my games.
I could use
Stud
the.
Stud high is the weakest part of the game. We'll play tighter then.
Well, no, I think that fundamentally I play fine, but what you're talking about, getting extra bets or how to manipulate.
Well,
players.
for instance, if you think a guy has, let's say a guy has 7 of diamonds up, and as the play goes on, you give him like ace jack of diamonds in the hole,
Okay.
and you have the ace king flush draw, and you just go and check raise him in 6. No one has a pair or anything because you think you have the best hand.
Right.
Now, check raising ace king in 6 is is getting pretty high level if you give him that hand.
And you're doing it for value more than anything
You're
else.
doing it because you have the best hand.
Yeah.
And, and then you lead out in the river and pray. He's going to call you with ace-jack, so, at the highest level they're going to call you because the pot's too big. They can't give it up. But that would be an example of something that's pretty high level of winning an extra bet that most people wouldn't think about, or even have the heart to do it, maybe.
In all the stud games, but especially the stud high, I know that there are thousands of nuances that I haven't gotten, and it's tough to learn without having thousands of hands under your belt.
Right. If you don't play with really good players, it's hard to learn
Right.
what a good play is.
Right. I mean,
Well, now it's hard to find a stud high game.
Just a straight stud high.
Straight stud.
I played a Nolan Hold'em shootout a couple years ago, and Thor Hansen was at my table, and it came down to me and him, and I won, and Thor said that was the best poker I've seen played in a long time. I said, thanks. I was in this really good zone. I really just knew what everyone had every hand. And I said, I think stud helps, because if you play stud, you must know what their hole cards are.
Right.
Right? If you don't know what the hole cards are in stud, you might as well just find some other game to play. And because you develop that ability to logic hands out, when you play no limit hold'em, you can usually logic out. People talk about ranges of hands. How about knowing exactly what they have? Or coming close
Yeah.
to what they should have. Now, of course, that gets you in trouble when you're playing with players who don't have what they're supposed to have because they've done something completely insane.
They don't always have what they think they have. And I don't mean literally in terms of the cards, but where they think they've got a strong hand. I mean, I saw a hand yesterday, or on Sunday, in the Sunday Full Tilt tournament, where, an ace came out and two guys, even though they started with, 50 in the pot, they ended up getting the whole 3,000 in the pot, and they both had, an ace. And it's like they're both thinking, fantastic, I've got two aces, meaning they're looking at the absolute value of the hands, not even the relative values, which is if I'm getting a lot of action, this guy probably also has an ace.
Yeah.
Now my ace 8 is not as great a hand. So, guys don't have what they think. You
Right,
think
and
they're
that
strong,
thing-
they're weak. Other guys are afraid. Other guys are so cautious that, they're checking on the end, and you think, well, I must have them beat. I'm going to get a value bet here, and they're just very weak, and they had, two pair that they were afraid of.
Exactly. That's true.
You-
But Thor, to finish the thought, Thor told me, if you groove 7-card stud, all the other games become easy. And after I thought about it, I'm saying, yeah, I've played all these other games, and what game has more concept than stud? So that's kind of what I was getting at with that statement. I think if you groove stud, as Thor said, the other games are easy. I really have not played anything but stud, but I quickly adapted to no limit hold'em and adapted pretty good. I'm pretty
Phil-
tough to
Phil
beat
Ivey
in no limit hold'em.
I was
started
going to
with
say,
stud.
well, thinking Phil Ivey, certainly played or stud high almost exclusively as he
Right.
was learning the game, and then adapts to other games pretty quickly.
Very quickly. Of course, he's mega talented, but doesn't hurt. But
Right.
it's the same kind of thing.
You were telling me to play tighter, which actually is what I do, and my problem is I find myself, I'll go in the horse, playing entire stud high round, and I can't find a hand to even start with. And I know that can't be right.
Yeah, it can.
All right, good. I'm going to continue doing that.
You, you've really made your name more than anything here as a sports bettor. Not to knock the poker playing, but you're a
Yeah,
legendary.
I'm not a known poker
You are
player.
a
I think I have more poker talent than sports betting talent, by the way.
In absolute terms or in relative terms. And what I mean is there are very few people who really are consistent, successful, long-term sports betting winners. A lot of people just don't put any time into it or any real effort into it, and it's a small community. Poker now, especially with the growth of the internet and
That's
the
a legitimate
evolution of the game, there really are thousands of super talented, dedicated professional poker players. So that's why I say, in absolute terms, I can see what you mean, but in relative terms, it's hard to believe that you wouldn't have a comparative big edge relative to other sports bettors compared to poker.
I'll think about that because I'm not so sure. Because I really do think I have way more talent at poker than I do at sports betting. And that's the truth.
And sports
since I
betting
started
is-
playing no limit hold'em, I've had some thoughts that have gone through my head that is like crazy good, and I pass along to some buddies. I'm saying, well, what if you have this hand? What if you do this? And they're
So
like,
sports
wow.
betting, you just outwork other guys?
Pretty much. I'm not. I obviously have some talent because I do it all in my head. Right? They had no computers when I grew up, so. I have loose leaf notebooks, and I'm just total old school. The
You don't
anachronism.
you're not running some simulations on some advanced
No,
algorithm that
I'm
you
just
wrote
winging
on
it,
your
man.
PC.
I'm just totally winging it, and
That's old school.
it's old school, and it's getting harder to compete because the guys who are still left have these very sophisticated computer programs that they're grooving.
Right.
and I'm getting older. So working 24/7 on something and thinking about something all the time it's like passe to me now anyway. I had that book, The Odds, that I was involved with, and about 6-7 years ago, I had like the home run year. I was like the man. Mm-hmm. And when I was young and starting to get involved with college basketball, I read this book called The Handicapper by a guy named Robert Kalish. And page 1 of The Handicapper, this guy just gets this manic influx. Remember, it's 1981. Yeah. This guy gets this manic influx of phone calls from all over the country. And through all these phone calls, he feeds his internal database, I'll call it, just to be a little more modern. And he wings the winners out. He feels the winners. I said, you know what? I'd like to be that guy someday, because how does someone know who's going to win the Creighton, Missouri State basketball game when they have no newspapers and nothing to read, but just through feel and just knowledge, he was able to wing out the winners. And I said, you know what? I want to be that guy one day. And like 7 years ago, I was the man. I mean, I had the best year of anybody. And that would include anybody that wasn't even known. Because I just won every game pretty much for a couple months.
Hoops.
College hoops, yeah. I went to UPenn. We went to doubleheaders every night at the Palestra, and I was well aware of what the point spreads were even back then. And I guess I think I developed good instinct just from knowing what the point spread was and watching how the games played out and understanding one game doesn't mean anything. And once you understand that one game doesn't mean anything, you've learned a lot about sports betting. And you can take that to the extreme that 10 games may mean nothing or 20 games may mean nothing. They can all be a smokescreen for what's really going on. And that's when it gets really cool, when you can just get at what's relevant about each game.
Do you have trouble getting bets down when you've been winning?
No. They love my action because I'm not someone who has a following. The idea is to get two-way action, right? So if I make a bet, they move the line, someone's likely to bet the other side.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter what I bet. It's not known. They'll go to a book and I'll bet it. They'll lay 7, they'll go to 8, and someone sees it's 7 everywhere, they might just take the 8. Hoping to catch a 6.5,
Right. You would have a following if you were
I believe I would if I
people
put out. I post on forums once in a while, and it gets a lot of hits. Of course, I never post a winner, so it's and that hurts. Believe me, if I think someone's actually betting money on something I like and it loses, it sucks.
Well, it's such a small edge in sports too that once you put it out, it moves a point or two, and then people still want to follow, but a big part of the edge is lost a lot of times.
Right. Well, yeah. If it moves a point, if it moves a half a point, it's probably the edge is about gone too.
Right.
Yeah. The game is really tough right now, and I'm trying to get away from it, and I'm hoping that last year was my last year. I really am. I'm hoping just to earn a living playing poker and pay the bills, and that's it. I just don't enjoy it anymore. It's 24/7. It's very hard to beat, and I'm not getting any younger. I'm 50 this year, man. It's hard.
In poker, you've got to be in there playing. With the sports betting, you do your work, and then they play the game for you. Poker, you got to put in a tremendous number of hours.
Right.
You're getting paid by the hour.
Sports betting, I'm up at 5 in the morning and go to bed at midnight. College basketball, so it's at least I have my own hours. At least I want to go work on my golf swing. I can go do it, during college basketball, which I can't do anymore. And I've been playing poker live lately. Now, granted, it's a good time of year. There's a lot of people in town who really aren't that good, but it's beatable.
All right.
But I could foresee it not being beatable in the future because I think a lot of the bad players, number one, they're done. A lot of the marginal players are now going to have to play against better players, and they're going to be done too soon. So I think some of the real good poker days are behind us.
Getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
But a lot of new players coming in as well. And,
really, you know better than me.
Well, yeah, and I mean if
I think if you stay at small limits, it's still very beatable. You can grind out 150,000 a year, not playing that high, and still have your own life.
Sounds good.
It would be awesome if that was the case, but I get my own way of
some it is.
Yeah.
Alan, thanks for coming by.
That's it?
That's it?
I didn't get wildly innovative, I'm sorry.
No, you were. Very interesting. And the
I
thing
didn't talk about my head getting shaved during the dinner break.
During the
first break
1 hour. It's
No,
not even a lunch or dinner break. It's more of a brunch break.
Yeah.
At 2 p.m.
What the f*** is it, man? We have a 1 hour break at the first level.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you play
So I
2
rushed
hours.
for the head shave.
I'm not sure why you play 2 hours and then take an hour break, but that's the way it's done. Alan,
I got the Tom Waite shirt on for all the old school people, and anytime, boys.
Thanks,
anyway,
Alan.
good luck with all the tournaments and with everything in general.
Thanks for having me. Good luck with your show.
Thanks for coming by.
Peace.
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, and write us at thescoop@cardplayer.com. See you soon.
2 bracelets. Awesome.
Well, these aren't easy to win. I remember this one like it was yesterday. My opponent had me down to my left. Sorry. Anyway, it's down to my last few chips. So I had to call.
We play at FullTailPoker.com.